Hey guys, Chairman here, back with another deck profile for Frieren, no Frieren. I'm so glad to be able to do a deck profile so early, right? This is actually pretty relevant, recent. Frieren came out like a month ago, and I'm already doing a deck profile. Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I was able to get a lot of testing for Frieren, and specifically went on an undefeated run at locals with a deck. So I feel pretty comfortable with it, and I'm pretty happy to do the deck profile this early. And it is going to be 8-book. Right, 8-book Frieren. I think 8-book is really strong. It's probably I think it's probably one of the strongest builds for Frieren. There's just a lot of good book support and book synergy with the whole deck, and it's just I think it's really good. It has a very high floor, very consistent. The other build that Mike, who I'm on Trusted Collectibles with, he likes book pants, so same level 1 combo, but running the TD level 3 pants combo. I think that combo is also really good, or that deck in general. It's a lot better in the top end. Your final few turns are a lot more smooth, and you have a lot of finishing power, but it does lose a lot of the consistency in the early game that I really like about 8-book. And so I personally prefer 8-book. I think the Brainstormer is just super strong. But I think both builds are good. They both take advantage of the level 1 book combo with the associated level 1 book support cards, and I think that's what really makes this deck get the free advantage and just be able to have that really solid and consistent gameplay. Alright, let's get into the deck profile, and I'll talk more about the whole deck once we see a lot more of the cards. But yeah, I think overall the deck is really strong. Alright, so for Jace, no, not just Riki. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward for Riki. Just want advantage. You want to search level 1 cards. It's really important because we have a level 1 support that we really want to get. So yeah, just want a lot of search. And then this, we don't use the event swap effect, it's not really relevant. And then I'm playing 4 of this is the Hycher double drop search. Honestly, this deck, I want you to see the whole deck. It'll look very suspiciously similar to my 8-book Data Live deck that I went top 8 with at the English BCS tournament last year. A lot of the same deck building philosophies I kind of carried over because I do think the to-do decks kind of play a little similarly. So that one was also 4 Riki for double drop search. This one's 4 Riki for double drop search. You need yellow in this deck, so that's kind of one of the reasons why you want to max out at 4. And then again, you're searching for like a lot of pieces 0 and 1, so double drop search is just phenomenal for that. Yeah, and so yeah, 4/4, very good. All right, playing 3 copies of the book Brainstorm. This card is so good. This is so good. Okay, so first effect, tap, rest it, and if you have 3 or more other characters, you can draw one, ditch one. So this is very similar to the Maid Dragon Double Rare Brainstorm, except that one needs a full field. This one only needs 3 or more other, which is really good. And then it's also a Brainstorm 5. It's for every book hit, you can salvage a adventure, magic, or the 3/1 event. So being able to salvage events on any kind of Brainstorm is just crazy. It's such a privilege. So this, we don't run any other events, so basically this salvages anything in our deck, including events, which is really powerful. Yeah, I think this is just like an insanely good Brainstorm, like way better than any other Brainstorm in this set. We take full advantage of both of the effects, and we actually can double down on it with a level 1 card, which I think just makes this deck insanely strong and insanely consistent at just kind of getting out of any weird situation with the deck and being able to get as much advantage or filter or whatever selectivity as you want. So yeah, this is definitely, personally, this is like my main reason why I want to play 8-book, is to have access to this turbo good Brainstorm. Alright, we're playing 2 copies of the JC. This is mostly for color because we need a little bit more yellow, but it's also a really good card at level 0. I think JC is one of those profiles that if your deck has it or if your set has it at 0, it's a pretty good idea to like run 1 or 2, because there's going to be some matchups where you do want to have the reverse denial, and so I think 2 is like a number where you can comfortably see it throughout the course of the game, so that if you know it's a matchup you need like reverse denial at 1 or 3, you can like prioritize it. It also has the effect when on play, if you have another adventure or magic character, it gets the effect when it attacks. You can look at the top card of your deck and then leave it on top or move to the bottom. So it's pretty good. It helps us make sure that our early triggers are clean, because we don't want to bury books too deep into our stock. This deck doesn't really pay out stock that well in the mid game, and it's like really efficient, so we don't really want to use our stock unless it's for something like very good value. So this helps us keep our stock clean in the early game. Alright, so 2 copies. Alright, and then we're running 2 copies of the Frieren on play Fukujiro. I was very lucky to be able to pull an SP from my 4 boxes, so that was really exciting. And I think this card's really strong, but it's definitely better in like the 8 pants deck with the whole like 1-0 event. In this deck, because we're not running 1-0 event, it's like less good. In fact, we were running so many zeros in this deck that sometimes it's not a good idea to actually go for the effect. It will probably miss. But thankfully, this deck generates so much advantage that sometimes it's okay to miss. You're just using this to mill out. So yeah, I think it's good for the mill option, and sometimes it'll hit, or like when it hits, it's usually going to be something good. And then even if it misses, I don't think the deck really struggles to make up for the hand. So I think still a pretty good card at 2. And I'm running 2 Climax Swap. This is one of the best Climax Swaps they've ever printed. I said this when Idolmaster Million Life came out, the set 2. The Stock Bomb Climax Swap in that set was freaking ridiculous. I was like, this is like the best Climax Swap they've ever printed. And then they print TD Frieren, which is the same Climax Swap, except it's bottom deck and still stock, which is even better. So this is now officially the best Climax Swap they've ever printed. I would run 2 minimum in basically every Frieren deck. I don't think there's any reason to run less than 2. The card's just too good. Alright, and then finally, utility level zeros. We're running 1 each of the red sign, red sign, the Frieren that clocks from hand to check top 4, and then 1 Kane. So Zine is drop salvage, mill 2 if you hit a climax -1k. It's mostly for the salvage waiting room access. We do have easy access with the brainstorm, but sometimes we don't want to use the brainstorm. This helps grab cards we need from the waiting room. This is probably the most cuttable card. You could probably run some other utility if there's some other utility you think is better than this, because this has a mandatory mill 2, and sometimes is kind of problematic. So yeah, you can consider cutting this one, but I do like it as a one of. I have one more utility here. Whoops, I forgot about this one. Okay, and then the Frieren. This is just a costless way to get hit yourself with clock, and yeah, it's kind of relevant, especially in the late game, because stock is a really precious resource in this deck. We use stock. We burn through stock so fast in the late game, so sometimes it's really nice to have a way to hit ourselves without using stock. And then also top check for add anything, really nice. Grabs climaxes, very good. Raikana is crazy good. I think this card is insane. So it's scry on play, top or waiting room. So gives top deck knowledge really good. And then it has the clock swap. So Kana's clock swap effect is really good. You choose a card from your clock to add to your hand, and then you choose a card from your hand to put into clock. So basically, there's no way that Kana will randomly remove a climax from your deck, because usually clock swap is you take a card from your hand, discard it, you take a card from your clock, add to your hand, and then you clock from the top of your deck. And if that rips a climax, that's really bad in a lot of situations. But Kana, since it's just exchanged from your hand with your clock, you can just safely, you safely filter with that. You don't have to touch your deck, which is really strong. Yeah, so Kana's really good. And then lastly, running the 1 copy of the Red Fern. So this is on play, choose a character, it loses its markers, I think. I mean, that sometimes comes up. Not really too relevant. The second effect is really good. On play, pay 1, ditch in adventure or magic, top check 3. So again, help us grab climaxes, events, and other playable characters. So this is just our level 0 utility suite. We run 1 of each. I think the Fern and the Zine are the more flexible ones. At level 1, we're playing obviously the level 1 Frieren book combo. This is pretty simple combo, just plus 2k during your turn, and on attack, mill 2, salvage equal to combined level. So it's just nice and simple advantage combo. This deck generates so much advantage, we don't even have to go for double or triple combo. In fact, it's probably better not to prioritize this too much, because we don't really need it. We don't need to force it, and sometimes we don't want to use this to mill too much, especially on a second deck rotation when we're really compressed. We kind of don't really care about resolving climax combo too much. Yeah, so kind of interesting that we're not always going for triple or even double. The thing with this deck is, because of the support, even just 1 Frieren plus the support, it's you're resolving double combo. So yeah. So I'm playing 4 copies of this Fern, and some people might think I'm crazy, but this is one of those cards where if you don't play it, you will not understand just how ridiculous this card is in practice. On paper, this card is neat, right? So on play, you can choose one of the characters you have named Frieren, you can stand it. So obviously, synergy is with the Brainstorm. You can restand the Brainstorm to use the Brainstorm effect again. So that could be like brainstorm twice, or draw one, ditch one twice, or brainstorm once, then draw one, ditch one, and or like draw one, ditch one, then brainstorm, right? You can kind of like pick and choose as you will. There's a bit of anti-synergy with the brainstorm because the brainstorms draw one, ditch one, you need 3 other characters on the stage. So like you kind of have to play Frieren as your 4th character if you want to draw one, ditch one. So like if you only have like the back row and 1 character in front, you can't draw one, ditch one. So like if you don't have any other characters besides Frieren on the board, like it's kind of weird because like if you want to draw one, ditch one, then play Frieren to draw one, ditch one again, you can't because you need another character. So Frieren has to be like the 4th or 5th character you play, right? Effectively, it's kind of weird. You'll get into like those weird situations, but it honestly doesn't matter because what ends up happening in this deck is just like you get so much hand. And most turns, all you're doing is you're just playing 3 characters, play a climax, and just swinging. Like you don't really care. Like your hand is huge, you can do whatever you want. But then there's gonna be turns where like you either like trigger too many climaxes, or you cancel too much or too early, and now you have like a really big deck that you have to go through, or like you're just like looking for one specific card, like at level 3 or something like that. And on those turns, having 4 of this and like 3 of the brainstorm means that you can do whatever you want. If you want to draw like 5 times that turn, you can draw 5 times that turn. If you want to brainstorm like and mill 20 cards, you can brainstorm and mill 20 cards. Like these, like sometimes like I'll like play a Frieren, I'll draw a ditch and I'll draw into another Frieren. So it's like, oh, I want to draw again. Play another Frieren, draw a ditch, draw into a brainstorm. It's like, oh, I do need to draw again. Play the brainstorm, tap the brainstorm, draw a ditch again. It's just like, it's crazy because like you get so much hand advantage that like it doesn't matter if you minus or not. The fact that you just get to do whatever you want is insane. So I think this card's a drug. I like it at 4 personally. You can definitely cut it down like 3 or 2. It's probably fine. But like I think the deck works so well with this card at 4. And plus it's just a costless character. Sometimes you just want to just like run characters in and attack because you're always playing a climax like every single turn. So like I think 4 is perfectly fine because it's just a costless character that you're just jamming in, and it has a lot of upside in this deck. It's so good, man. You can pretend this card basically reads on play. You have the option to draw 1, ditch 1, or brainstorm 5. Like that's basically what this card says on play. Oh, and then the second effect is really good too. It's whenever one of your other characters attacks, she gets 500 for each of your other magic or weapon or magic or adventure. So if she attacks slash without climax, she's already attacking for 7k. It's like pretty good. All right, so like I don't know, this card's crazy. Okay, we're playing 2 copies of the book support. So this book support is another reason why I think 8 book is really strong, but also if you're playing book level 1 combo with pants, this works very well in that build as well. So up to 3 times a turn. During your turn, during your main and attack phases, if you draw a card, you can assign 1k power. So it's really good with this draw ditch effect of the brainstorm, but it's also good with your book triggers. You trigger a book, assign 1k power, and then other effects that draw will also help you do that. And then at the start of your encore step, if you have a climax with a book trigger in play, and you do not have another copy of this card, so you can only have 1 copy of the card on the board to resolve the effect, you can just draw a card. So it replaces the climax that you play. Every book climax you play throughout the whole game after you play this card is free. So there's like no reason to not play a climax. You just get plus 1k power global, plus 1 soul global for literally free. And then any climax combos you resolve on top of that is just bonus, right? So this card's crazy. We run 2 so that even if we miss one early to like clock or damage, we can still have another one. And then this is also one of the reasons why I think having like a drop salvage effect is good. If we miss both of them super early, then like we do want a way to like get to 1 copy. Because like this card, once we get 1 copy, we're set for the rest of the game. I prioritize this card more than level 1 combo. Because effectively they're the same thing, right? Level 1 combo is going to be a salvage. This is going to be a draw. But once we land this, like every book we play afterwards is going to be value. Whereas level 1 combo, like, you know, we have to get the right book for it to be value. So in this deck, this is more important because, yeah, every book afterwards is just crazy. Okay. All right. Let's move the. Actually, yeah, no, this is fine. Yeah, I was thinking I was gonna move the climaxes up, but I think it's fine. Okay, so we're playing 1 card at level 2. Only card we need is just the 2/1 counter. Defense is really low in this deck, so I don't think counters are like very valuable. But this is an anti-change counter, which is really strong. So you do want to have a way to deal with your opponent's over-level characters. This one is like just kind of your best option, so that your opponent doesn't just get to like front your characters for free. All right, and then for the early place, we play 4 copy of the best card in Frieren, which is the Frieren and Himmel yellow early play. This card is just so unfair, man. This card is so good. I think I severely underestimated how good this card was going to be. Going into the set, I thought this card was just going to be fine. And it's like 4 more other early play. It heals on play. That's pretty, you know, it's like a lot of sets have that, right? Like that's not too special. And then if you have another during your turn, if you have another adventure or magic character, it gets plus 2k power, and on attack you can pay 3, ditch 2, and then burn 4. So I thought that was just gonna be whatever, because it's pretty expensive. Pay 3, ditch 2, burn 4. It's not a bad rate. So generally speaking, burn climax list burn 2 is gonna be pay 3, ditch 1, or pay 2, ditch 2. So for an additional discard or stock cost, you're getting 2 extra damage. But if 4 is a pretty big amount of damage, you're gonna usually cancel 4, I think. It's not likely that the 4 sticks. Or so I thought. What it actually turns out is that if you're just counting your opponent's climax list, sometimes your opponent is just gonna get unlucky, right? Like, especially in an elongated game state, especially in a game state where you're constantly playing climaxes turn after turn and effectively pushing a ton of damage at your opponent is not going to be able to have really precise and clean deck states all the time, right? Like if you play a climax that you triple cancel and they don't have mill, then all of a sudden their deck state is going to be bad. Or if you play a climax and they take a lot of damage, now they have to mill out. What ends up happening is you have so much resources for the burn effect that you can just opportunistically like just freaking throw burn force at your opponent, and like if it sticks, they're so screwed. And if it doesn't stick, you still take a climax out. You're still like jamming a bunch of damage in, and you're still healing. So like, no matter what you're doing, you're increasing your damage lead pretty substantially over the course of like 1 or 2 turns at level 2. And it just makes your opponent really uncomfortable, because like normally at level 2, like in white shorts, both players kind of handshake. We're setting up for level 3. We're gonna like conserve our resources. We're not gonna do too much damage. We're gonna try to control how much damage each other takes. You know, and the first person to hit level 3 like blows their load, right? But this card basically says, nah, I'm just gonna I'd win, dude. I'm just gonna throw damage at you first, and then like you better cancel. And if you don't cancel, well, I'm sorry. And if you do cancel, I just healed, so like you have an even bigger damage lead to make up, right? Like good luck one turning me from like 2-2 with low resources, because you're trying to figure out how not to die, right, from the burn force. So yeah, this card is crazy. I think in practice you'll see, like if you don't believe in this card, like just try it and you'll see like this card is insane. There's just so many games where this just wins. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, man. Like they should not, like this card is probably the one unfair card in Frieren. Thankfully Frieren doesn't have like too much like stock generation early, which is probably the one thing that aids this. Like if Frieren had easy ways to generate stock, this card would probably break Frieren. Right, but thankfully you can only really do this effect like once or twice at most, like throughout the course of the game. Now you're not really going to be able to like do this constantly. All right, and then at level 3 we're also playing the Fern finisher combo. This card, I'm gonna be real here, you don't have to play this card. You don't have to play this card. How many games have I played with this deck? I've played like 10-ish games with this deck. I think I resolved this combo like maybe 3 times over the course of 10 games. And I've won like most of the games. So like this card is so not necessary. Like it's good to have because it's cheaper burn than this. So you like hold 1 or maybe 2, and then once you hit level 3, you just like resolve 1 or maybe 2, because you don't have the stock to do triple anyways. So 1 or 2 is like fine, right? Like 2 is just 4 stock, which is plenty, right? Yeah, you'll have 4 stock, but no, half my games, like by the time I hit level 3, they're already like 3-4, 3-5. In which case, like, yeah, this is not really doing that much. Like, yeah. So this card is like, you can cut this if you really want to try to optimize space, but there's also not really a big reason to cut this. I don't know what else you'd be optimizing. You kind of want to have like more healers and more high level cards, but yeah, like I think one important thing with this deck is you're not trying to like hold triple of this card to do triple combo at level 3. You're like holding 1, maybe 2. I would only hold 1 honestly, because you can use the event to salvage like another copy if you have enough stock to go for a double or something like that. But like, yeah, I would only hold 1 just so like you have a kind of an easy, cheap way to finish out the game. But you're mostly using your resources on other stuff before this, you're never trying to really triple this. Alright, last 2 cards are going to be 2 copies of the Stock Troll, the bed of flowers making magic. So 3-1, your opponent shuffles their stock back in their deck, stocks the same amount, and then you can salvage a character. So pretty helpful to get like a finisher, depending on what you have in your hand, and then also just decompress your opponent, which is really good. Yeah. So this is a really simple deck. As you can see, it's like mostly 4-ofs, so like a ton of 4-ofs over here. Also like a few 1-ofs that are pretty easy to get because they're level 0s and our climax combo can always salvage them. And then some 2-ofs that we want to see over the course of the game, but we're not really trying to prioritize, or we have ways to prioritize them, like with our search effects. Yeah, so this is the deck. I think this deck is really strong and it's pretty straightforward to play. This is a pretty good deck for a beginner. I would recommend it a lot. You do get a lot of hand resources over the course of the game, so it's gonna be nice. Like as a beginner, you don't. Sometimes it's hard to play decks without good hand resource generation. So this deck kind of eases that in for you, and you kind of don't need to worry about that too much. But then for experienced players, all that hand is just pure gas. You can do whatever you want with it, and I think specifically this card, you can really unlock your gameplay by playing this card with a lot of extra hand and just like knowing what to draw, knowing what's in your deck, just like being able to do whatever you want. It's pretty freeing, honestly. Yeah, it's kind of fitting. So yeah, I think this deck is really good. I would highly recommend trying out this deck. It's really cheap too, actually. The most expensive card is like this stuff, but even this stuff is not that bad. Oh, I guess this is a little pricey, but this is it. Like this is the double edge. You don't have to run this. This is like not 100% necessary. You can run something else. And yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions or comments, feedback, any ideas about this deck, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, I hope you give this deck a try. It's really fun. I definitely had a lot of success with it. I hope you guys also have a lot of success with it too. Alright, and then hopefully we'll be doing some more Blue Archive deck building content in the future. It's probably next on the lot. But also, if you have any other sets that you know that you want to see deck profiles for, just let me know as well. I'll definitely take a look and see what I can do. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!